this is a continuation of the theme of making visible, because the early formation of personal futures planning was, in fact, a pedagogy. It was a process of supporting people to tell their story and having it unfold, literally become visible on wall charts across a wall with a group of people who were invested in the individual and interested in change. And what we learned early on is that, and this is one of my signature gifts, I believe, was just this very simple color coding that I've stuck with for almost 50 years, which is green was the color for when things were going well and people were alive and, conditions and experiences were uplifting. And red was the color of things not going well, when people were stuck, when conditions were not good. And we learned early on in that if we just stay true to a certain amount of color coding, that what emerged on the paper were themes in people's lives, threads. In retrospect, I've come to call them the kind of the soul's DNA. That what we began to see is a pattern in who people are when they're at their best, and a pattern in who people are when they're at their worst. And 9 times out of 10, people were spending most of their lives locked into the pattern of when they were at their worst. Okay. So this was a very revelatory experience, right? To literally see themes kind of jump off the wall. And, I am looking for my yellow markers. The other color that I am famous for is yellow, is the yellow highlighter, because one of the things that we did rigorously in those early days, and I still do this if I'm involved in a plan, is we start underlining in yellow, where is this key to this person's life? Where is this gift? Where is this pattern that if we can redirect our attention to the green, we can strengthen? Okay. Well, it doesn't take long before a beautiful vision can unfold for the person. However, if we're not also taking on the organizational constraints, the what we now call the social body, the place that people live and belong, if we're not also opening up opportunities in that part of people's lives, then what we've identified as what's possible can't unfold. So then this brings us back to making visible what is the pattern in a person and what are the opportunities in a place, the place that they live in, and how do we strengthen the connection one little experience at a time. I mean, I can't emphasize that enough, because in our practice, while we might generate a fairly large vision for what could be a more generative, fruitful life, oftentimes that's a 10-year vision that emerges. It's not a 6-month vision. It's not a 12-month vision. It doesn't fit into any of our ideas about time. But what matters is that we find seeds from that big vision that we can start to plant. And many of the stories I've told over the years, they truly begin with 2 hours. People made a shift in Ken's life from a situation that was really not working to finding these 2 hours where he could start to really shine. And then, okay, that's a key. What can we do to enlarge that, right? And what can we do to keep building people's engagement in the things that really nurture them? So the point is just that the person-centered planning that I've practiced has always had connected to it, planning with the person and their family, working with an organization to change, and also being connected in the community, working at the level of local community to find assets and places where people can belong and contribute in the local community. And if we disconnect those three things, really it's four things, because I mentioned finding the gifts in the person with their support circle. That's actually number two. Um, Gifts in an individual, cultivating relationships, the support circle, changing organizations, and building communities. If you disconnect a plan from any of those things, you come back 3 or 4 years later and nothing's happened, and people have been left with this sense of possibility and just stuck in the same old situation.